Conceptual romance is on my mind. I call it abstract romanticism. Conceptual romance is you. It's you and I. It's you and I.
Jenny Hval is a Norwegian singer-songwriter, music producer, and novelist. She started as a vocalist for the gothic metal band Shelley's Raven. When she was studying in Australia, she sung for a couple of bands, I Panic and Folding for Air. After she moved back to Norway, she started to release solo music. The first couple of albums, starting in 2006, were credited to the name Rocket to the Sky, all one word. She had one more as Rocket to the Sky, and then since then she's had 8 solo albums under her own name.
Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the 6th studio album by Jenny Hval. I'm still not sure about that pronunciation. It's my first time hearing it, but there is a little bit of a history here with her on this channel. So this is the 6th album, her 7th album, Practice of Love, I reviewed a while back, and it got 8.3. And then sometime after that, I reviewed Apocalypse Girl, which was her 4th album, which got 8.4. And I guess the obvious progression would have been to 8.5, but it didn't quite make that. So I'm going to describe this as being experimental art pop. It is, in quite a few ways, deeply weird. But I'm going to claim in a good way, at least for me. So I feel like if you drew a line and you started at Kate Bush, who is almost everybody's kind of ground zero for weirdness for female artists, and then you take that line through Bjork, who has had a huge impact in terms of being a female artist with weirdness. And if you keep drawing that line, eventually you'll get to Jenny Hval and this kind of thing. So maybe it's not that much further out than Bjork, because Bjork can be quite strongly weird at times. Another strangely reference that I want to throw in here is Laurie Anderson. So I don't know how many people will know of her, or how many people will know of anything from her other than Oh Superman. The track that I know best from her is Languages of Iris from Outer Space. And it has some of the same feeling to it, which interests me. And I feel like there might be some other proto source somewhere, but I relate Laurie Anderson to quite a few people who I've come across whilst doing these reviews, who have this kind of art weirdness. I think, yeah, that reminds me of Laurie Anderson in some ways. So let's try and do some descriptions. So there is musical elements in here. There's rhythmic elements. There's actually probably more rhythmic elements than actually musical elements in terms of notes. A lot of it is there is more noises than music. There are things that kind of blend noise and almost notes at times. This kind of background wash that feels like it's somewhere between white noise and a chord at times. There's drones, definitely, that word can be used. There's rhythmic patterns. There's snatches of speech, another thing. There's echoes going on. There's pad sounds. There's drums. There's loops. And there's quite a lot of loops. There's a great bit in one of the tracks where she's got a bit of her panting out of breath and has created a rhythm out of that and looped it, and actually could hear in it the length of the loop because there's a slight skip in it, or a slight glitch in the timing of it. Again, her attention to detail is such that I would not say that is accidental. I would imagine that is deliberate. There's a fair amount of reverb. There's quite a bit of echo being here. And then, amongst all this, there's vocals. Now, some of that is spoken, some of that is sung, some of that is whispered, Most of that is her, but there are obviously voices that are not hers in here as well, mostly with the spoken stuff. The general feel altogether is sometimes it feels kind of avant-garde classical, sometimes experimental, like people like The Residents, who are a reference that I will often bring up. It's deep. So, okay, yeah. So I wanted to pick out one particular point in, I can't remember which track it was, at which point the sound that you could hear was a deep atmospherical backing, which was like this thing of it being kind of partially just a wash of reverb and partly kind of feeling like some notes are coming through there, but or some tonality. And with this, then there's a crackling that sounds like it's fire, and then she's singing high and quiet through this. Barely music at times, as I said. There are some times when it's more musical than others. It's more of a listening experience than an album of music. And I'd say it's all about the aesthetic. So I might kind of I have lots of questions that I ask myself as I'm doing these reviews, and as I go through this process, it's been a journey of self-discovery in terms of my own tastes and what I like and what I don't like. It has had a bit of an impact on, what I will like and what I will recognise in music. But to some extent, it's more about trying to work out why I like some things and not like other things. And one of the big areas for this has been stuff that is off the wall or avant garde or experimental, which is that some of it I really like and some of it I don't like. And I've got my history of this is from years back, rooted in early Pink Floyd and some things from progressive rock. Not entirely, there are other things that people might describe as being weird that I really enjoyed. And I've been trying to ask myself the question, why is it that just because something's weird doesn't mean I like it? Because I have come across stuff that is equally avant-garde as this, and I haven't liked, and I've obviously really liked this. And what is it that's different? And my kind of theory that I'm working with at the moment, my working theory, is that it's about the aesthetic of it. So when you don't have the musical structure or very limited musical structure, it comes down to what kind of listening experience is it? And how does it feel as a piece of sound? And I think this is what I like about this is that I enjoy the aesthetic of this music. So it's dark and warm. It kind of has got this feeling of barely breathing under a blanket at times. It's got that kind of warmth, but somewhat slightly menacing as well thing about it. It is a concept album. It is about blood. It is about vampires and menstruation and other things as well. I didn't pick up a lot further than that about what it's about. I'm sure there is depth in here to be dug into. It does have the feel of, gives the impression of depth. And sometimes I'm suspicious that it's possible to produce that impression of depth without having actual depth. And sometimes I have this criticism of some modern art, more in the visual arts, that they kind of do it in such a way that you can extrapolate or attach your own meaning to it. And this is a thing that seems to have come through in art, is trying to make art where people can attach their own meanings. And maybe this is something like that. But I got a feeling that there's more going on here than that, but I need to dig in deeper to get that. It does help in terms of me liking it that her voice is. I really enjoy listening to her voice. It's sweet and enigmatic. Enigmatic. She can sing, but it's a very capable voice. I would say, and like, yeah, I find it quite an attractive voice. So that's what I think of this album. I pulled it apart quite a lot. As always, I'd love to know what you think of this album, so please do share that by leaving me a comment. And I'm going to do the thing that I don't often do, which is to say, why don't you, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, why don't you subscribe and then hit that thing where you can be notified when I upload new videos, which I actually do pretty often, to be fair. And join me on this journey. There's quite a few people with me. Excitingly, something has just happened, which is that on this list that I'm working through, I have done, well, this is my 949th video for this series, and have just hit 949 subscribers. So before this review is uploaded, my number of subscribers has just overtaken my number of reviews on the list. And it's been a long time coming as it's crept up. So I've been looking forward to this point where it will overtake. Now, at this point, I think I'm going to be releasing a few in a few days, as I often do as a batch. And I'm going to re-overtake. Get subscribing. Keep that ahead. So let's keep the subscribe numbers ahead of the number of videos. That would be absolutely brilliant. The next review on this channel is going to be of the Chuck Berry album, St. Louis to Liverpool, but that's it from me for now.
I don't know who I am.
Ever really, truly, never, ever, truly, really, never really, never really